Initare, giving thanks to the all, giving thanks to the divine. Initare is the essence of nature. I'm Queen Mother Initare Auset Akua KitiHeru with the Temple of KitiHeru, where our founder is Baba Saba Amari Sneferu. And you're tuning in to with six. Okay. The number of murder victims in the United States in 2019 by race and ethnicity and gender. Black males, we have a total of 6,446. For Black females, we have 1,035, with a total of 7,481 Black individuals as murder victims. Hispanic males, we have 1,768. For Hispanic females, we have 425 with a total of 2,193. And that's the Hispanic and the Latino community. For white males, we have 4,026. For white females, it's 1,759 with a total of 5,785. Now, if these statistics are indeed correct, we are winning. And this is not a brag. KitiHeru, which means Black people, we must do better. Ashe?
Ashe.
And when I say Ashe, it means that we agree and we're on the same accord. Respect, R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Find out what it means to me. R-E-S-P-E-C-T, take care of TCB. TCB is a hood acronym for taking care of business. Lyrics from our ancestor, Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. May she rest in royalty and in music. The often unwritten statistic known by many in the Black community is that much of the conflict that occurs between us begins at least from one person feeling as though they've been disrespected, okay? With that said, we as a people are experiencing a crisis of respect. And so the topic for today's show is the respect crisis. With that said, one of the byproducts of self-hatred is the lack of respect for one another. Are there any cultural remedies that we have forgotten or ignored as a people? Today, we are going to explore this important subject as a crisis and perhaps what we should do about it. Let me give you a few points to consider. Parents partying with their children, such as smoking and drinking and socializing in the same circles. Parents negotiating with children. Parents being friends to the children instead of being parents. Children being allowed to communicate with parents with using profanity. Children telling parents that they will or will not do something. Parents allowing or requesting children to address them by their first name and not by mom or dad. Younger adults or children utilizing profanity in front of elders and seniors in the community. Ashe?
Ashe.
So I have a Blacktastic panel this evening. Again, you're tuning in to the voices of Maat in St. Louis, Missouri. At this time, I'm gonna go ahead and let you all introduce yourselves, and when you can go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Sister Vita, and I am an educator, have been an educator for almost 30 years.
Ashe.
And I do some local acting here with a Call to Conscious. It's a theater group that put on plays and shows for for social justice, basically. And we do have a reading that's coming up. I think it's tomorrow. I forget. I literally forgot what it is, which I will be attending. It's a reading. Right now, I am a teacher at City Garden Montessori School, and I have 3 children. I am thankful to be on this panel. I do think that we need to get back to the business of respecting one another. And again, and I'm glad to be here.
Dua, thank you so much, Queen Vita. Okay, who's next?
I can go next.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kendra.
Hello.
I am a community activist. I've done work such as helping to get Wesley Bell into office after the Mike Brown murder, worked on anti-police brutality campaigns, as well as things like anti-government surveillance work. Presently, I started an organization called Social Value Consciousness, which facilitates discussions and activities with young women about issues like colorism, voluptuous bias, and texturism.
Awesome. That's Blacktastic. Okay, who's next?
Good evening, Queen Mother. Brother Troy Curtis here. Again, let me just simply thank you for inviting me to participate on another show and another panel. You always have outstanding subject matters, and tonight is no exception. I really appreciate the time and the effort that you put forth. So thank you, sister.
Do I? Thank you so much for joining us, King Troy. Last but definitely not least.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Myron, and I also want to thank Queen Mother for the invite today. Just looking forward to a good conversation with some of my elders and some of my peers. And I'm ready to get into the conversation as soon as possible.
Ashe, Ashe. I want to say, do I thank you to all of you all for coming on. I appreciate your time. So let's get started with the questions. So the first question that I have, and actually the first to answer this is going to be Queen Vita. Do you feel that disrespect for one another is a bigger problem for the KitiHeru Black people? When I say KitiHeru, I mean Black people. That's basically what that means, KitiHeru, in the community than it is for other communities.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
You just read off statistics from murders from 2019.
Yes.
How many people, Black people, have been killed. It's unfortunate that most of those murders have probably been at the hands of our own people. So yes, I do believe that it has become a bigger problem. It did not used to be. I will say that I am thankful to the Most High that I am almost 60 years old. I just had a birthday. And
happy Earth Day.
Earth Day, born day.
Yeah.
And I grew up in the segregated South. And that's all we knew was respect. We didn't know anything about guns. If we did, it was because our grandfather was shooting to get something to eat, to put on the table for us to eat. Now, what I do believe is that some of us are harboring conscious contempt for our own race. That's what I believe. And I believe that in some ways that, yes, we have failed and continue to fail our youth. Like you said, parents are partying with their children. You got grandmothers who are 35 years old. You know, they have lost the value and morals of what our ancestors instilled in us. We are becoming and have become like the European people that oppressed us, brought us to this country. So yes, we have lost respect. And I pray that we get it back somehow, but we got to figure out how to do that.
Ashe. Okay, Queen Kendra, same question. Do you feel that disrespect for one another is a bigger problem in our Black community than it is in other communities? And if so, explain why. If not, tell me why not.
Ashe. So yes, I do think that it's a bigger problem in our community. Similar to what the previous queen just mentioned, we have internalized contempt, internalized self-hate within our community. And although some other communities of color have dealt with things like colonialism, we've also dealt with slavery, Jim Crow, the civil rights movement, all the way up to present day America. So we are constantly, there's this constant onslaught of information in the media and even perpetuated through our family, through our places of worship, and through the education system, through the prison system that tells us we are less than. So we've internalized that. And then we continue to repeat that internalized self-hate, which is one of the reasons why I talk about issues like colorism, because it's another manifestation of internalized self-hate. And what I believe is, if I feel that I have no value, because I'm constantly told that, and I've internalized that, I've accepted that to be true, I'm desensitized, I've accepted the narrative, then I will see other people who resemble me and look like me, I will consider them to have little value as well. And when I think that they have no value and I do, I as well don't have value, I will treat you a certain way. I will hurt you. I will steal from you, murder, because I don't see that any reason not to, if that makes sense. And I think that has really compounded the issues we see in our community, and our level of, when you see the disproportionate rates, those disproportionate rates directly correlate with the levels of anxiety, racism, and all the other isms that we experience.
Ashe, Ashe. Okay, what about you, King Troy?
To begin with, I want to piggyback off of Queen Vita, what she stated, that we are trying to mimic the ways of our former oppressors. And I say former because we have to get out of the mindset that they are really still oppressing us. But our former oppressors, we are mimicking their ways simply because our original, as we know, our ancestors' ways, their ways have been eliminated from our memories. So we are trying to fill a void with the closest thing that we see possible. And of course, that is the European way. I often say, can you put a freshwater fish in salt water and expect it to live long? No, you cannot. That's what's happening to us. We are victims of this foreign culture that we're trying to be a part of, and it's not working for us. As far as the respect, yes, we have issues of respect within, of course, our communities, within our people. That's, partly because of that self-hate that's been forcefully taught to us. Personally, and I say this, these are my words, my opinion, I don't really care what's going on in other communities and their lack of disrespect or what have you. My focus has to be 100% in our communities and how we can heal this situation that's, come upon us. And there are so many answers, there's so many questions about why and how. You can't just stick a Band-Aid on this situation. You have to go all the way back and understand that we never had collective healing as a people. So we are still sick as a people. And I'm talking about from the beginning of being enslaved, and everything that happened in between up until now. So yes, we are trying to mimic our former oppressors' way of life, and it has caused the situations that we see today.
Ashe, Ashe. Okay, King Myron, the same question for you. Do you feel that disrespect for one another is a bigger problem for the committee, the Black people in the community, than it is for any other community?
My answer would also be yes. First, I would like to say I think all three previous answers were great. I think it's gonna be a great conversation. I'm enjoying what I'm hearing so far. I don't know if my answer is in depth, but I do believe it's a bigger problem. I believe that us as a people, I think we've gotten more comfortable than other races with disrespecting each other because we've been disrespected by so many other races as well for such a long time. And I think we've got very comfortable with disrespecting each other, whether it's in a jokingly way or a serious manner. We have so many different avenues to do so with social media. And you know, I believe with us growing up in certain type of home environments and being treated in a certain type of way or a certain manner, I think we in seeing these type of movies, the slave movies, and the way Hollywood continues to produce those type of narratives
Excuse
makes us feel like.
excuse me. Can you turn up
Yes,
just a little bit?
yes, ma'am. Can you hear me a little bit better now?
Okay, yes, that's a little better.
Okay. As I was saying, with us seeing these type of movies in Hollywood, with these slave movies, with these slave narratives, growing up in these different type of home environments, maybe an absent parent or two, and we get older, and I think we feel like it's what the type of disrespect that we grew up with, or the type of disrespect that we've seen portrayed in these different movies, that it's okay and it's acceptable, and it's not. Um, so I do think us as a people, we've got very comfortable with it, and I think we need to do something about it as soon as possible because we don't want the next generation or our youth to continue to think that these things are okay because we see what it leads to as far as with the mass incarceration, with the murders, diseases, because people say that these things don't bother them, but it does bother them. So they lead to drugs and alcohol abuse and all types of other abuse. So I do think it's a bad problem in our community.
Indeed, indeed. Ashe. Okay, let's move on to question 2. Should a person's older age entitle them more respect, say from children, adults, nieces, nephews, younger family members, or a younger generation? Or does age matter at all when it comes to levels of respect? And King Troy, you're going to be first on answering that.
Yes, I feel like there is an automatic respect for our elders, of course. But at the same time, I believe young children should be respected for this one reason. Children, and oftentimes adults forget what it's like to be a child. A child may have a situation that seems, of course, childlike to an adult, and we usually say, "Oh, going somewhere, that ain't nothing," so to speak. But to that child, that situation is extremely important, and we forget how to show compassion to our children at times, and we don't understand how that really, really can disrupt, certain emotions inside that child. So there is a certain amount of respect. We have to make sure that we listen to our children. What's that old saying? Children should be, help me out here, please.
Seen but not heard.
Exactly. Well, see, I just don't believe in that. We must listen to our children to make sure that we can help teach them, but that also develops emotional security in our children. So there's a level of respect, yes, that we give them, but at the same time, of course, we respect our elders simply because of the travels that they have endured to get to where they are.
Right. We really need a healthy balance.
Yes, we do.
Okay, King Myron, you're next on that question. Do you think that the person's older age entitles them more respect?
Well, honestly, I do believe that we should respect our elders. There's really no question about that. As I feel like their age is an entitlement to it. There was a point in time where I did, but I can't continue to do that because I don't feel as if we should just give anybody respect. Has to be earned, regardless of color, creed, religion, or age. If I must say so myself, and I say that because I've grown up to respect my elders. I was raised and taught to respect my elders. By all means, my grandmother raised me, so I have no problem with doing so. But what I've noticed as I've gotten older is that respect is not always reciprocated, and trying to continue to tell yourself that you should respect anybody because of their age or any other reason is lying to yourself. And I don't want to put that out there on this broadcast. I believe that all respect should be earned. And it was a time during the Mike Brown situation where I was really exposed to how unseriously our elders can take the youth at times. There was a lot of hurt people in that time when the killings was going on and the protests was happening. And I've seen a lot of elders that I have a lot of respect for, that the youth has a lot of respect for. I've seen them not taking the pain seriously or acting like what they went through in the 60s or the 70s, which was bad, but like it made what we going through not serious at all. And due to that reason alone, I've taken the stance that all respect should be earned. Treat others the way you want to be treated first off. So I'm always present myself with respect because I want to be treated in that manner. But if I'm showing you respect, it's not due to your age. It's just due to that's the same thing I want to be shown myself.
Okay, King Myron, can let me go back a little bit on what you were saying when you compared something that happened with the Mike Brown situation with the elders versus the younger generation. Can you give us an example?
Well, I remember just being out in the city and everybody was talking about it all over the city. So anywhere I would go, I would hear somebody talking about the protests. And I noticed that the elders would be some of the elders would come off kind of angry when they would hear the youth talking about it. Why y'all out there tearing things up? Or y'all need to stop this nonsense. And there's all types, there's discouragement. And I mean, with me having that mindset that I should respect my elders by all means, I'm taking what they went through seriously. Most of us is out here fighting due to the fact we wanted them to see us take on this fight. We wanted the elders to see us take this thing serious. And a lot of us was moving so fast because we wanted to do it before a lot of our elders got out of here. You know what I'm saying? We wanted to see that smile on their face. We wanted to see y'all proud of our growth in consciousness, but it seemed like it was the other way around. It seemed like either we were trying to be taken advantage of or not taken seriously. And I think that and people were losing their lives behind it. And then it was kind of detrimental to some of the way I was brought up when it comes to respect for my elders. I still respect my elders by all means, but I have questions now.
Ashe. Okay, next I'm gonna have Queen Kendra take that same question. Should a person's older age entitle them more respect from, say, children, adults, nieces, nephews, younger family members, or the younger generation? Or does age matter at all when it comes to respect? What do you think, Queen?
So age does matter when it comes to respect. And I'm glad to speak in this order because you all said some really awesome things. Balance is important. I do believe that the elders' life experiences speak to why we show them respect. We need their advice and guidance. But I also don't believe in practicing any type of ism, including ageism. So like the other king said, I agree, children need to, I'm concerned that the rate of suicide amongst children is correlated to us belittling their experiences. Yes. So I definitely agree with the other king said as well. I also agree with King Myron, was it?
Yes, Myron.
Because as also being in the activist circle and that type of circle, I did see a lot of judgment amongst the elders for the youth. And it was very, very concerning. It was as if we couldn't do anything right. And some of the elders, unfortunately, in that space didn't even seem willing to work with us. Yeah, it was terrible the way it showed up at times. So I definitely understand where he's coming from as well, which again is why balance is needed, and we shouldn't promote any type of ism, even ageism.
Yeah, we need to address that. I think we could go into more detail maybe on another show, but I do see where that can cause a challenge for the elders and the younger generation. Because although the elders are wise, things are always going to be different generation to generation, but we have to learn how to come together and unite.
Yes.
Make it work for all of us. Ashe?
Ashe.
All right, Queen Vita, the same. Did I ask you that question already?
No, you didn't.
Okay, so let me just, I'll read it again. Should a person's older age entitle them more respect than children, adults, nieces, nephews? Or does the age matter at all when it comes to a level of respect? What are your thoughts?
My thoughts on that is yes. One thing Brother King Myron said was respect should be earned. Now, with that being said, yes, being older should have, with your journey, may you become more conscious and aware of your surroundings and people and the community and all of those things. But you have some elders who think because, well, I'm old, you know, and I've been on this journey and you need to get where where I'm going. They feel like, okay, well, that's fine. Elder, you've gained your respect. You've earned that. But you got to know how to respect somebody too.
Ashe.
You know, my daughter, who is 23, from when she was 10 years old and knew when she wanted something and she wasn't going to get it, or she did something, we always gave her the freedom with the respect. She would come and say, Mama, Daddy, with all due respect. And we would listen to her. Now, with me growing up, you just did what you were told to do.
You better not come with nothing other than that.
That's right. You just did what you were told to do. You didn't even think to say or fix your lips to say, can I?
Ashe.
Because we already knew that when mama or daddy said something, it was what it was.
It was the law.
I do agree also with King Troy, with children should be listened to. They are little people with little minds, but they have minds to think, and they should be respected, because how are they going to learn how to respect others if they are not respected? I was in a Zoom meeting with my coworkers, and I come in the meeting, and it's like 40 something people in a Zoom meeting. And I say, good morning. One person said good morning. One person waved. So I said it again. I said good morning.
Wow.
So the next thing they were getting ready to do was do some meditation. Okay. I said, wait a minute, hold up. I said, do you mean to tell me I can come in here and give you all a greeting to, start your day of good morning, but you mean to tell me you cannot say good morning back, but you getting ready to do some meditation?
Yeah, that's backwards.
What are you trying? This what you want our children to see? So I had to set that straight. That's crazy. So yes, respect goes both ways. It does. But along with that, still, I do believe that elders, yes, we're trying to, get even further, from where we are now. And yes, it goes both ways, but there is a level. There are levels. We paid our dues, but I mean, like I said, some elders just feel like, well, I'm going, you get. I'm on break line. I need to get right. I'm serious. I've had that happen to me in the grocery store. I just walk right on in front, just like and excuse me, ma'am. No, so it goes both ways.
Ashe. Well, I commend you on allowing that injustice not to happen on your watch. Ashe.
Shay.
You know about the saying hello and now want to do meditation. Okay, let's move on to question 3. And this question first going to be for the queens and kings. If you feel like you have something to say on this same question, just make sure that you come in after the queens. It says, when in a relationship, does it matter how your man or your king addresses you when talking or referring to you as dude or man, as a figure of speech? Tell me why or why not. And I'm going to go with Queen Kendra on this one first.
Okay, so it most definitely matters. I identify as a woman. I don't want to be referred to as a dude or man. Not only do I identify as a woman, but I'm ultra feminine. And it's funny because I've had a guy friend of mine kind of referred to me in passing as a dude or and such, or even referring to women in general as girls versus women. And so that can be really concerning if you're not paying attention to your manner of speech and being sure that you address adult women as a woman versus a girl. And so, yes, that's very concerning for me. People have also tried to create nicknames with my name, kind of shorten it to Ken or something like that, because it's difficult otherwise to create a nickname with my name. But similarly, I don't want a guy's nickname. I want to be referred to as a woman. So just a bit of my experience with that and my preference.
Hey, what about Queen Vita?
Well, if I were in a relationship, I can say that let me see, how can I put this? My ex-husband, okay, very conscious brother, very. I think that some brothers, kings, are so used to speaking to their.
Hold on for 1 second. Hearing some background noise. Can we let's put ourselves on mute when talking, okay? Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Queen Vita. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I think that well,
do it, guys.
Absolutely. I am 100% woman. I know you can't see my neck, but there is no Adam's apple. Okay. My pronouns are she, her.
Yes.
Like I was saying, gosh, he's gonna watch this, but it is what it is. He did not mean any harm. I think that he was so used to talking to other brothers, just like brothers talk to each other. Kings talk to, be like, man, you know what I mean, man, and you know what I'm saying, man, and
yes.
And I had to look at, okay, we have children together. Okay, I am not a man. Okay, and he was trying to explain to me, and I got it. I got it what he was saying, but that still does not, okay, dismiss what I'm saying to you.
Ashe.
Don't say man to me. Don't be man. No. And I think that they are just so used to, just referring to it, just like women, which I hate, refer to each other as bees.
Yes,
for the life of me, I don't understand that I'm a bad. Are you serious? That hurts my soul.
I say.
Because if they knew what the word meant, so you telling me you a female dog? I don't understand it. So any form of those words, you know, the whore, you know what words I'm talking about?
I say.
They're all disrespectful. Call me what God created me. If you can't call me queen, then don't call me anything.
I say. Okay, now kings, and it's the reverse for you all, because sometimes when women say, you know, the same things to you that they may say to their girlfriend. I don't know if you guys have much of that, but have either of you ever had that experience where your lady or your girlfriend might have said girlfriend or something? Now I've heard men say, like I've heard you know, have a conversation with the woman and say, I was like, okay, like it's kind of, but I guess sometimes it depends, you know, have a lot of women in your family. If you're a male,
You're kind of breaking out, breaking up.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Myron, would you like?
Yes, ma'am. I'll answer that question, but I want to repeat. You still kind of breaking out. Your voice is going in and out during the broadcast. But to answer your question, well, first off, thanks to Queens for answering that question. I don't believe that we should be calling our queens out of their names. I think it's somewhat of a careless thing us as men may do at times. I think we just, as the Queen Vita said, we so used to spending time outside that we just kind of get comfortable and complacent with our vocabulary. And I think it's something we should take more serious. In response to that first question that you asked, where it comes, it's just a respect level. I think it's a respect thing at the end of the day. I don't think it's intentional by all means. I think it can be intentional. It can be used as intentional, but I don't think it's a hard problem to solve. It's not a difficult thing to call somebody by their name. I think it's something we can all do better. I've done it a lot to queens, and I've had it done to me. Not as much, but like I said, most of the times it was intentional. Just kind of talking fast, being in a rush, and a lot of times it was just out of carelessness, not really being concerned with how the other person may feel about it. But it's something that I look to take more serious. And I think if you start with the small things, it'll help you build up to the bigger things. So if we start with the small disrespect, we can get to the big disrespect. So I'm just looking at the better.
Can you all hear me better now?
Yes, you were just breaking up every now and then.
Okay, yeah,
like every other word or so.
with my internet earlier, so probably something to do with. Troy, you want to say anything on this, or you want to move on?
Briefly, men get their authority from the power of the woman. So if a man calls his significant other, bruh, man, whatever, and she allows it, it's going to happen. But as soon as she halts it, her power stops his authority, and he can no longer continue that type of descriptive phrasing, if you will. And that's one thing that we have to understand, that aspect of the divine principle of balance. You know, no one is any more powerful than the other. And I stress again that men get their authority only by the power of women. This is why so many of these young ladies, they really don't realize how much power that they have. They can cause, or they are the deciding factor of our young men pulling their pants up and acting right, so to speak. So I just wanted to use that as a quick example. But as far as that, you know, bruh, man, whatever, vice versa. Number one, I wouldn't want to do it. Number two, I couldn't get away with it in my household. So You know, that's just how it is.
Hello?
Yes. Can I just say real quick, I wish it was always that simple, because even in the example that I gave, I gave the young man pushback around using the phrase girls instead of women, and he gave excuses. And so, as to why he did. And so there needs to be this mutual level of respect of, I'm willing to compromise and the other side is willing to compromise, and have open dialogue around why something is problematic, so that we have a foundation of like the need to change it, to change our behavior.
Okay, I think what's happening is, I think my internet is kind of messing up. I'm still hearing some interference, so let's make sure when we're talking that we're on mute. Okay. Okay, Ashe, very good answers. Okay, let's move on to question 4. This is for the kings, and like vice versa, queens, if you would like to answer after the kings, if you have something to share, go right ahead. Is it okay for your wife or your girlfriend to ask favors like car repairs, home repairs, or borrowing money from another man without checking with you first? King Troy, you can go first.
Queen Mother, you didn't even have to ask that question. I'm just gonna say it like that, sis. I can't really give you an answer on that because it's self-explanatory. I don't know, you know. Now I will say this: in every adult relationship, they have what they will put up with and what they will not put up with. And couples, they have that right in their own relationship because they are adults to do as they please. I can only speak about my relationship. I can't speak on anyone else what they should or should not do because that's none of my business. But of course, in my household, like I say, sis, I can't even answer that question. Again, it's self-explanatory. And there would be, if that was the situation in my household, we have problems that we need to address long before that would come up. So that's my answer.
So basically, you ain't gonna be able to do it. Ashe, what about you, King Myron? Do you have another perspective? Unmute yourself, sweetie. Unmute yourself.
Could you repeat the question? I know how it goes briefly, but could you repeat it for me, please?
Sure, I will. So it says, is it okay for your girlfriend or your wife or your lady friend to ask favors of other men, such as home repairs, or maybe even borrow without checking first? What's your perspective?
Okay. Well, from that perspective, it's kind of broad, if I would say so myself. And during this broadcast, I'm gonna try to speak towards more of like a kind of what's going on out here with the youth today, realistically. You know what I'm saying? I know what TV shows and I know what our elders did and what some of our parents did, but I've seen it happen a lot with some of my parents, some in my neighborhood. I would see women get money from different gentlemen, whether they significant others knew about it or not, I'm not sure. But when you put it to a perspective where you said wife, girlfriend, or lady friend, those 3 different situations. You know what I'm saying? A girlfriend doesn't necessarily make a woman your wife, or not even a lady friend. Now, speaking on a wife perspective, I don't believe that's acceptable at all. I believe y'all should be together on all decisions being made. You don't want to, because we know what secrets can breed. But when we're dealing with lady friends or a girlfriend, I believe it's possible realistically. You know, I've had lady friends where we can have a goal, we can have the same goal in mind that we're trying to accomplish, and we're gonna get this goal accomplished. I don't necessarily need to know everything that you do. You're not my wife. You know what I'm saying, at this time. So how you go about helping me accomplish this goal I can't be too judgmental in it. You know what I'm saying? But I will say this, because I read this question, I was looking forward to answering it. I will say, as a man, we don't ever want to get too comfortable with allowing any woman in our life to depend on another man other than ourselves, because they can definitely come back and hunt you in the end. A woman definitely want to know that she can count on you, but at the end of the day, you want to know that you can count on that woman too. So you can't put them in a box to where they can't, because every woman's situation is the same. Every woman doesn't have a solid support system that she can go to for assistance if she needs. So, and sometimes a woman just want to try to take some weight off your shoulders. So, I believe it's kind of up in the air. I believe it's a broad question when we're dealing with three different types of relationships, and I believe it's broad answers for that question as well. If that makes sense.
Yes, that makes sense, because I think I hear you saying that it really depends on the level of relationship with the individual. Like sometimes you have a relationship as you might have a girlfriend and boyfriend. They may not be married, but they may be together for 20 years. As comparison to a girlfriend, boyfriend that might have just been wife and husband. So I understand. Ashe. Okay, Queens, did you all want to weigh on that?
Yes, I wanted to say that I think another important thing to define is whether or not the relationship is monogamous versus a polygamous relationship. So even in my opinion, even if the relationship was just between a girlfriend and boyfriend, if you all are monogamous, it is a sign of respect to check with your partner before making an arrangement, especially with someone of the opposite sex, to assist you in some way. Did you all hear that okay?
Yes, thank you, King.
Okay, great. Oh, and then I also wanted to say that versus a polygamous relationship, you're working as a village. And that's kind of one of the benefits of polygamy in the first place, is to work as a village, work collectively, even from a financial standpoint or even from a resource standpoint.
Ashe, Queen Kendra, I'm happy that you brought up the polygamous relationship, because I do think in that regards, it is a little different. It puts a little different spin on it when it comes to that, because it's a different type of situation where some of these issues may very well be a positive in sharing that relationship or those responsibilities. So dua for that. Okay, moving on to question 5. Is chivalry dead? After the newness of a phase of a relationship, does your mate continue acts of courteous and thoughtfulness? And the first person that can go on that is going to be Queen Vita.
I was unmuting my mic. Well, you know, it's a matter of opinion to me. Some people for real don't even know what chivalry is. For example, age 30 and below, some people, for example, 60 and over, they never even heard of the word chivalry. They may have displayed some chivalry, but they don't even know what the word is. You know, I'm one of those women that if you open my door, I'm gonna say thank you. You know, I remember after the Million Man March, you know, brothers was coming back, you know, open the doors up for sisters, and you know, but even so now, some brothers, you know, open the door for you, and I've seen it happen. For they've opened the door as I was going in or coming out for another sister, and sister just walked right on in, you know. Now, as far as relationship, I want it all. I want it all, and I'm gonna give it all. You know, so Like I said, it's a matter of opinion and who you ask. I don't think it's dead. It's where you are in your mindset, in your maturity. So
Shay. Okay, what about you, Queen Kendra? After the newness phase of a relationship, does your mate continue acts of courteous and thoughtfulness, and do you do the same? Unmute yourself.
I forgot. Yes, I love chivalry. And I think part of it is just a general form of being courteous. And for some relationships or some individuals, when you consider how they give and receive love or receive love in particular, that may be a love language that is really significant to them. So like an act of service type of love language. So you want to be especially perceptive to that as a way to show your mate love and respect. And I can't emphasize enough being in a world where Black people especially are belittled. And so being able to have someone you're in an intimate relationship with respect you enough to kind of give that extra sense of respect and adoration, I think is much appreciated and can really help a relationship to flourish, whether it's in the beginning stages, 10 years down the line, 30 years, 50, and so on.
All right, King Troy, what do you think about this question about is chivalry dead?
No, it's not dead. I think it transforms after a while. If you really observe your mate, you observe likes and dislikes, and if you really pay attention, you're able to provide certain needs or wants without your mate asking. But you must really pay detailed attention. For me, that is the highest form of chivalry. Opening the door is easy, but providing something that they don't realize that I'm paying attention to, that is, in my opinion, showing that link or that bond that you really have. So I just believe it transforms maybe as the relationship matures over time, and it just it's to me, that's more on an intimate level of really connecting, in my personal opinion.
Ashe.
Ashe King.
King Myron, what about you? Is chivalry dead?
As Queen Vita said, I don't believe, not even, I couldn't get the definition of that word, but I got an idea of what you're asking. As far as, I don't believe it's dead. Is it still appreciated? I'm not sure. So is it still given as much? Probably not. I think a lot of the wrong things are being glorified in the culture, with the music, with the movies. And chivalry ain't one of them all the time, because we not really listening, because the elders not getting the opportunity to speak as much about these types of things. So me myself, I enjoy chivalry. It's just that everything is moving so fast these days, and a lot of the youth is jumping from relationship to relationship. And I think the chivalry doesn't make it to every relationship the way that it did in the beginning. But I definitely think it's something that needs to be brought back. It's very important because as a father of a daughter, I want her to know what that's like. And in order to do that, I better be on my ball and doing it right now as we speak. So I believe it's important. Yes, man, I believe it's important. And I don't think it's dead, but I think it's definitely dying out, unfortunately.
That's a great point, King, because if you show that and express that to your daughter, you will demand that. And then, you know, when we talk about chivalry, it's just basically thoughtfulness, being courteous, being respectful. And so I feel like if you definitely show her that is going to happen, accept anything less than that. So I on that.
Sure.
Ashe. Okay, let's move on to question 6. When it comes to crossing respect boundaries among friends, Have you ever experienced a friend or family member trying to seduce your spouse or your girlfriend or boyfriend? If so, how did it impact your friendship? And the first person is going to be King Myron on that question.
Okay, to answer that question, have I experienced it? Absolutely. Um, like I said, this generation that we're growing up in now, a lot of the values have been misplaced. I attend the Morristown Temple of America, and in our Circle 7 Quran, it says something of the nature of the glory and the shame has been misplaced. The glory and the shame has been misplaced. So back in the day, it would have been a time to not go at your friend's woman or your family member's woman. That would have been an honorable thing. Today, to be able to take somebody's girlfriend, it seems like the cool thing to do. It's glorified in this culture. So have I experienced it? Yes. Have I been on the other side of it? I'm sure I have. But the thing of it is, was the question only have I experienced it, or what else was the question behind it? You muted Miss Queen Mother.
Do I? Basically, what the question is asking is, if you had experience, or if you had, what was the impact on the friendship of the person that you had that with?
Okay, the impact that it had, definitely distrust. It definitely raises up distrust in that individual. The male youth of these days, we try to tell ourselves that the code is bros before women, or your partners before these women. Don't put these women before your partners and your friendships. But I'm pretty at the end of the day, when certain boundaries get crossed, there's no other distrust is going to rise, and there's really nothing you can do about that. So other than distrust, then maybe it's something that you can work past. But again, in the Circle 7 Quran, it says, don't go for and it says it's in the Bible too, in all holy books, you really don't want to go for your friends or your family members' woman, because that's usually something that they really not going to be able to get over. And I've seen that in movies, in real life. I'm pretty sure we all can account for that, if I'm going to say so myself.
Ashe. So, Queen Kendra, you're next to answer that question. When it comes to crossing respect boundaries among friends, a friend or a family member trying to seduce your spouse, your boyfriend, and if so, how did it impact your friendship or the relationship?
So fortunately, I have not experienced that personally, but I have had people close to me experience something like that. For example, close friend of the family.
Stuff on mute. Thank you. Do I? Go ahead, Queen Kendra. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Do I? Close friend of the family, a godparent, their husband was enticed by her sister while he was intoxicated and while to have sex, engage in intercourse, and that led to her divorce. And so, in a similar situation, oh gosh, it happened to also again in my family, actually not just a family friend, but specifically within my family. So I'm fortunate that I haven't experienced it personally, but as a woman, as a human being, I can only imagine how that feels and the level of betrayal for not only in a monogamous relationship for infidelity to happen, but for it to be with someone else that's close to you. And I agree with what King Myron said in that it is definitely glorified in the music. I can take your man, I can take your woman, from Chris Brown to Megan Thee Stallion and other forms of, especially rap. It's definitely glorified and it's making it more problematic. I think it's important to choose a mate that your spirit and ancestors confirm is for you.
Ashe.
Choose a mate that you all mutually have respect for one another to avoid issues such as what we're talking about now. But, because afterwards, as was previously stated, it can be something that's very difficult to get over. I mean, infidelity is a difficult betrayal. I shouldn't say get over, but heal from.
Indeed.
Infidelity is a difficult betrayal to heal from, period, let alone when the person has cheated with someone that's also close to you.
Ashe, Ashe. Queen Vita, the same question for you. Would you like for me to repeat it?
No, thank you. Well, for me, I can say this. I know a lot of people, a lot of people, and a lot of people know me, but my circle is very, very small. So I don't surround, and I have never surrounded myself with people, women, men, who would even try anything like that with me, because they know me. They know the kind of person that I am. So that's easy for me to answer. I've never experienced that. And I don't think I ever will, because
Ashe.
they already know. Don't do that. So that's as simple as my answer can get.
Ashe. What about you, King Troy?
I can say that that has not happened to me knowingly. So therefore, I have to say that no, but just to reiterate what everyone else has stated, that is one of the most powerful betrayals that can happen. And it can be devastating on so many levels. That is the type of betrayal that truly destroys families. So, you have to be so cautious with a situation like that. But also, as Brother Myron has stated, and Queen Kendra, it is glorified now in the music and the entertainment. And, these are the things that are teaching our children values right now. We have to fight against billion-dollar entertainment corporations.
Yes.
So that's one of the most difficult tasks that we have. When we talk about what does it take to restore certain aspects, we have to look at the enemy that we are up against. And we are up against something that is feeding our children, degradation daily. So, and that's included, and that is a powerful beast to go up against. But if we recognize our enemy, we should be able to go to war with our enemy, but we need to be on one accord to be able to teach our children and the others, what is real, what is not real. But then again, we're back on, and I know I'm kind of digressing here. We're talking about these parents that they're co-signing with this type of entertainment, with these type of teachings. So if mom and daddy says, okay, who in the heck are we to try to fight mom and daddy, so to speak, when they are teaching their children that it's okay to, number one, cuss, okay to do this, okay to do that. You see this vicious cycle that we have to fight. And I hope I didn't get off key too much, but basically, in a nutshell, we have a true battle in front of us. And these are these separate incidents that we have to try to heal our families with. And shows like this are very important because we're able to speak on it, identify it, and make sure we try to attack one by one. And we have several issues, and this is one of them. So thank you, Queen Mother.
Thank you. And I'll say this, and that is the very reason why I chose this platform, because I feel like we need to educate, edify, empower, and make known to our people all of the things that we need to work on collectively. And so all the challenges and the barriers that we face in our communities, hopefully these talk shows and this communication and different perspectives will definitely make a difference. Ashe? Okay, let's move on to question 7. And for question 7, Queen Kendra, you go first, okay? On the job, to a mutual friend or on social media, has anyone ever shared your private information without your consent? If so, how should you have dealt with that situation? And if you haven't had that situation, just tell us what you would do if that occurred.
OMG. Ooh, gosh. So when I read this question earlier, oh my God in heaven. So yeah, I have had that happen. And I have to say, you know, my prerequisite would be that I'm hard on myself. So I really blame myself. I shouldn't have shared the information. For the most part, if I share anything, it's because I'm comfortable with it being reshared. However, I think it's also to consider your audience. I knew one particular individual was a habitual liar, to be quite honest. So I knew that she already had personality traits that were untrustworthy, which is another reason why I blame myself for the way it came out. And it wasn't necessarily a shock because I, accounted those things, took that into consideration. But that information came out at a job, and one of my mentors, an older woman, later told me that her mom had always taught her be conscious of the way you show up at work. And I think for me, I had always been conscious of that in academia, and somehow I had a disconnect at that particular job, but partly because of the toxic environment of the job in general and everything that was going on in my personal life at the time. I did really need somebody to talk to, but irregardless, you really do have to be careful. And that's something that I will mentor other young people, especially young women, about, is you have to protect your character at all costs, because unfortunately, we're in a council culture. People aren't very forgiving, and you don't want something to tarnish your character. And learning that lesson earlier before the creator kind of exalts you some other place in life is always good, so that you can learn from that and become a better person. But I have experienced that at my most recent job. So it's kind of a recent memory. So yes.
Ashay, I think I want to commend you though for taking the experience that you had and willing to share it with other young ladies and other people so that they won't get caught up in that. I think that is extremely honorable of you.
Do I?
Okay, Queen Vita, take that same question. On the job, to a mutual friend, or on social media, has anyone ever shared your private information? I probably think not, but I'm gonna go ahead and ask anyway. And if so, how should you deal with that situation?
Can I laugh out loud?
Go right ahead.
But you are absolutely correct. Like I said, I know a lot of people know me. Social media has become everybody's psychiatrist, minister, imam, mother, father, everything. We can go on social media and do anything, be anything, say anything, that we want to say. Because maybe, not even, let me take that back. It has nothing to do with my age and with this question, because there are people my age who tells everything that's going on in their home behind closed doors. And then you wonder why, it gets out. You can't trust everybody. And I don't. So it is, I've never experienced, but if it should happen to me, I don't even know how to answer that. If it should happen to me, because it wouldn't.
Okay. That's all that need to be said, Queen.
I throw my hand up.
Okay. What about you, King Myron?
have had my information shared. As everybody else said, well, first off, I believe that first, no, everybody's not the same. You know what I'm saying? As I said, the support system is different. So, and we're living in a very toxic time right now. It's a lot going on. The negative socialism is at an all-time high. You're being judged from so many different angles, so many different age groups, so many different, just a lot of things going on. So I feel like, depending on what the information is, some information needs to be shared. There's a lot of things going on in the dark these days that people don't really want to talk about. And I've myself have put out information that was given to me or brought to me in some form of or another that the other person probably didn't want me to put out, but it was probably my best interest to put out. And I think that's what we also need to take into consideration, because people get mad like you telling my business, but what is your business gonna do to me? Is what we need to be talking about, that you're not telling. So I think, like I said, these questions, this is an amazing conversation, I would like to say. But these questions ain't really a one answer fit all. I believe we got to take a lot of things into perspective. We're dealing with a whole presidential race right now, where you can see how misinformation can be spread and passed around, and people will straight discredit you and drag your name through the mud. And I think in a time where sometimes you have to go all out about trying to clear your name in certain situations, because there's so many avenues to do so.
A little bit, because we're not like before.
I was just saying that I believe that can you hear me now? I believe we have to take into consideration why, the purpose behind somebody doing so. Sometimes the information that you share can be in your best interest. And sometimes we got to look at the reason somebody don't want to share that information. Like I said, these questions ain't a one answer fit all. There's a lot of things to take into consideration. We live in an environment where people would drag your name through the mud and then get mad at you for defending yourself with the truth that they was afraid to put out. So I don't believe you should be telling people business. I hope you ain't telling my business, but it definitely happens though. You know what I'm saying? So I digress at this time so we can finish this conversation.
I say so. King, I'm not sure what's going on. We heard you some of it, but it's some type of like bad connection. You all hear it in the background?
Yes, perhaps try to change your audio from your headphones to speaker or something, or just your phone, and that might help, maybe.
To like regular audio, maybe?
Yes, so you would...
Say something, King Myron.
Yes, ma'am. Can y'all hear me better now?
Yes, that's excellent. Do I, Queen Kendra?
My apologies. Was y'all able to get anything of that last answer?
I heard most of it. I heard a lot of it. Good point.
Okay,
you made some good points.
Ashe.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, King Troy.
As far as anyone sharing my business on the job, social media, no, nothing like that. I'm a very private person, especially on my job. They say don't mess where you eat. I don't take business like that to the job. They don't know that much about me. I always try to keep the job guessing or assuming information about me. As far as social media, I'm going to kind of piggyback off what Queen Vita stated, that yes, I know a lot of people as well, but the immediate circle is very small. So I really can't say that a lot of people would know my business. Now, of course, what the problem comes down to are family members that may know your business. I've seen family members post their own crazy business or someone else's business on social media, and it just blows my mind because I'm just very subjective, being a private person. I just don't see why you would want to go to social media trying to seek this sympathy or any other aspect of sharing your business. So I would have to say no. The closest it's come for me about sharing business is from, a family member I may have confided in, told another family member something. And it just taught me the lesson that you simply watch who you tell your business to, no matter who they are, family or not. So, and if you find somebody with loose lips, you just stop telling them your business. You only tell them what you want them to know and move forth. That's all.
Ashay. I've seen things put on social media like child molestation, rape, just, all kind of very serious issues that you would not normally put on social media. But I do understand why the hurt person would do that, because first of all, most of the time they need therapy and they need counseling, and they unfortunately don't have anybody to talk to. And so when it gets overwhelming, they use social media as an outlet. And of course, we know that that's not good. But then sometimes people just don't know how to communicate, who to communicate with when they're trying to get that hurt out of them.
Can I say one statement, Queen Mother?
Go right ahead.
With a situation like that, that's a delicate situation, because now someone is accusing something of something like that to someone, and that accusation has not been proven, but that person could be put in harm. It's just one of those tricky situations. If the person did it, that's one thing, but right. What do we know the truth? Because someone is just putting something out there for the public now to make a decision. And again, that could put an individual in harm's way who may have not done anything. So my point is, it's just not the arena to do certain things, in my opinion. That's all.
Right.
If I could add then as well.
Go right ahead.
To piggyback on what King Myron said. So I apologize, King Troy. I apologize. So considering I'm a survivor of sexual abuse, my recommendation is to go to the police and file a report and let the police do the investigation. I agree with King Troy. You definitely don't want to take that to social media. That way it's investigated. The points can be made valid. And in addition to that, you can stop that person from further hurting anyone else, because the necessary things will be done, whether it's send that person to counseling, because a lot of times rape is about power, or send that person, if needed, to jail.
Unfortunately, family, this was a incest situation that had been going on for generation to generation to generation. And I think this young lady just got so overwhelmed, and she couldn't get, the people who were closest to her to listen to her. And so because of that, this is how she reacted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, geez. I definitely don't want to shame the victim.
When she did it, attended to right away. And that individual ended up being in prison.
Wow.
Could I ask a question in response to that question?
Sure, go right ahead.
I've heard basically almost everybody say what's not acceptable when somebody is trying to express themselves or express their truth, or what platforms shouldn't be used. And at the same time, I'm also hearing y'all say behind that that everybody knows that most people don't really have anybody to talk to about the situation. So would everybody like to give a recommendation on what's appropriate, or how someone should handle these situations, since the way that the situation is being handled? Yeah. It's actually working for some, but what do y'all feel better handle these things?
Yes, I would recommend a counselor. That way you have someone that's legally obligated not to tell your business unless you're harming yourself or someone else. I'm very huge advocate of counselors and mental health. And as far as, because we know healthcare is expensive in the United States, during COVID, there are a lot of free services available. And in particular for survivors of sexual abuse, there's free services through the YWCA, as well as through an organization that Dana Kelly started. So there are free services out there. And if there are any sexual abuse survivors out there that would like more information about free services, or organizations like, I believe it's Provident Counseling. Before I started doing community organizing, I did resource-based organizing. So I can definitely give more free services. And I kind of keep a collection of that. So feel free to contact me, like, for example, on Facebook through my organization. So it's at svc.stl for more, if anyone needs more information, anyone who's viewing this broadcast, at svc.stl for social value consciousness.
Queen Kendra. And also, King Myron, there are a number of hotlines, 24-hour hotlines for individuals who, of course, they will be able to be in line with professional therapists and counselors who handle suicide situations, sexual abuse, anything of that nature that you just need to get that hurt out. There are 1-800 hotlines. Even if they have to call 211 United Way, they're always available. You can call 211 United Way and they will hook you up with any type of resource that you need or what you may be going through. I work in social services and community services as well. And so there are a number of resources that are available 24/7 for individuals who need help.
Can I make one more statement, Queen Mother?
Go right ahead.
With that, brother, if they are so bound to social media and they are using that as a means of communication, with Facebook as searching, looking for recommendations, I don't want to call it tab, but feature. Instead of typing out their business, they can say, looking for recommendations, be it a counselor or a psychologist. If they are bound to using social media, let them use it to where it will assist them and not drag them down, if that makes any sense. You can look for recommendations for certain businesses and even certain medical help as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Another thing, King Myron, if they are connected to social media, these agencies always have a Facebook or a, please help me, Queen Kendra, what's the other, Instagram? They have
Twitter, Instagram, website.
If a person is just so connected to social media and that's all they know, they will be able to connect with those individuals as well through social media in a confidential way.
Okay. In response to that, I want to thank you all for your responses. But I would like to also say that social media has done everything from finding missing peoples. I mean, I know if somebody goes missing, social media is a good way to get information spread out. I mean, social media has done, it even stopped a whole coup, a military coup for a presidency before. So, like I said, although everybody may not like the effect of social media, because nobody really likes the truth getting out. I get that. But it's definitely a powerful platform. It definitely should be used in a responsible manner. But the truth should also be used in a responsible manner too. Peace.
I have one more comment on that, sister, Queen Mother.
Go ahead.
This is not an indictment on social media, but as you just stated, brother, it's about using it responsibly. That is key right there. Using it responsibly. That, you said a mouthful, brother. So you keep that in mind. Yes, it's exposed truth. Like you say, it's found missing persons. But again, we don't want to degrade even ourselves. We don't want to degrade ourselves as individuals, as we were speaking about telling too much of our own personal business or what have you. I mean, it is a very powerful tool that can be used to save lives. This is not an indictment, but again, just going off what you said, we need to use it responsibly and teach our children how to use it responsibly. That's what we are tasked with as their elders. So I just wanted that last comment on that.
Ashe, again, I think it goes back to having a balance, a healthy balance with everything. Okay, so I'm trying to make sure that I got everybody on that question. Queen Vita, did you answer that question? Okay, everybody was.
I did.
We kind of went there, but that's okay. That's what we do.
That's okay. That's
okay. So we are on question 8. Okay, and this is going to be King Troy is going to go first. Most of us agree that slavery, Willie Lynch, Jim Crow, etc., has had a negative impact on us as a whole. However, do you feel that the respect for one another was better during segregation or integration?
I'll begin. Integration and segregation are two sides of the same coin of living in this country. They were both harmful regardless because of the forced enslavement where segregation was born out of course. Now, I am a student of history. I did not live during that time, so I can only speak from a historical standpoint, and it seemed like we were forced to have a better relationship because we were all who we had to depend on, you know, for our needs during segregation, you know, from food and so many other aspects. We were forced to depend upon one another, which is a great thing. With integration, things kind of went left, so to speak. And forgive me for what I'm getting ready to say, but when they gave us permission, especially black men, gave black men permission to sleep with white women, we lost our damn minds. Therefore, it just went, you know, completely left, if you will.
Troy.
Pardon? I'm sorry. But it's the truth, though. It's the unfortunate truth. And those bonds began to separate that we had. You know, people wanted to go sit in the toilet next to white folks. You know, we had separate facilities. They wanted so bad to sit down next to white folks, just to sit on the toilet, other aspects, because we wanted to be accepted. You know, they dehumanized us so bad. We just wanted to be accepted by this society. So I would have to say, yes, there was a stronger bond in segregation, but segregation was no friendly party either. You know, there was a lot of things lacking. I remember, you know, our brothers and sisters fought for the integration of the public school systems because they honestly thought things would have been truly equal, not separate, but equal. And then unfortunately, they found out that wasn't true either. So it depends on how you look at it in several aspects. But segregation, we were forced. With a tighter bond, integration, yes, there have been certain other achievements, but nevertheless, they are still two sides of the same coin of the aspiration of white supremacy in this country. Thank you.
Ashe. Okay, Queen Kendra, you're next on that. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, ma'am, sure.
Most of us agree that slavery, Willie Lynch, Jim Crow, etc., has had a negative impact on us as a whole. However, do you feel that the respect for one another was better during segregation or integration?
Okay, so I really appreciate what King Troy said about it being the two sides of the same coin, because part of the trickery is that, oh, we've evolved, we've been able to achieve something, and all they do is change the game. Even when it seems like we've achieved something. So there are definitely pros and cons. I love the data and statistics on how well we were doing as far as Black businesses and the way we were supporting each other as a village in our communities during segregation. I do want to add, though, that part of the desire for integration was that we were also dehumanized by being forced to use facilities that weren't as up to par. And so I think that part of the desire for integration would have been much less if for example, the faucet or the water fountain wasn't filthy for the one that was supposed to be used for Black, or at that time the term would have been colored people. If the school systems that were segregated didn't have raggedy books, if the resource, it was just another way to dehumanize us. And so, but at the same time, integration wasn't helpful. As a supporter, a huge supporter of Black businesses, I really miss, I shouldn't say miss, because I didn't experience it during my lifetime, but I couldn't imagine the level of support we would have seen then, especially when you hear data now that talks about how long a dollar stays in our community versus how long a dollar stays in other communities, such as the Asian community or Jewish and so on. So that sense of togetherness is very concerning to me. That sense of unity and support goes back to internalized issues. But when you are belittled and dehumanized, not only do you want so badly to be a part of that culture and respect it, but you're given incentive to do so.
Right. I want to add this really quickly. About maybe 15 or 16 years ago or so, I did a little research and I was doing a paper on integration and segregation. And what Coretta said was that in the beginning, when the people were trying to get fair treatment, they wanted to come out the gate and say, you know, we don't really want to be with you all. We just want our stuff to be just and fair. You know, if you all have a school that's standing in good standing and good books, we want the same thing. We don't necessarily have to be with you all, but we want that same fair social justice. But then they felt that they could get more, they could be heard a little easier or a little better if they just said, well, we'll just join with you all. If you guys don't want to put up the money or give us the fair share of money or economics that we need to have this done, then just let us come in and share it with you. And so it was a matter of like a negotiation or something that a lot of them felt like would be better than nothing. Do you all kind of understand what I'm saying? And so I think the initial was to do the first thing of us just continuing to be on our own, but advocating that we have that fair share of good books, you know, good buildings. You know, nobody wants to have their babies in dilapidated buildings, of course. Okay, so King Myron, you're next on that question. Would you like me to repeat it?
Please.
Most of us agree that slavery, Willie Lynch, and Jim Crow as a whole had a negative impact on us. However, do you feel that the respect for one another was better during segregation or integration? The respect that we share for one another as brothers and sisters in our community.
To answer your question, I didn't experience segregation. My closest thing to that was probably watching movies or hearing people talk about it.
Okay.
From what I've seen, it looked as if the respect level was higher. From what I've seen, from what I've watched, from what I've heard. But I believe integration has been helpful too. To get to know somebody, you have to get close to them. And if we were going to be living with different races, we had to get close to them. And I believe it's allowed us the opportunity to grow. Because segregation ain't going to do nothing but you're going to have to continuously assume. We want to observe people from afar. But at the end of the day, integration was good for those who took advantage of it, I should say. You know what I'm saying? Those who took advantage of the opportunity was good for them when they wanted it to be. When it wasn't good for them, you would hear them starting to talk bad about it. When it was no longer serving their purposes. But as long as it was serving their purposes, it was a good thing. So, like I said, it's a lot of these things are up in the air. But I will say this, and this was a response to the first question that was asked. When it comes to respect being earned, another thing that made me kind of disappointed in my elders was when I've never seen some of the people that I've grown up around disrespect somebody in the manner that I've seen people disrespect this president that's in office right now. regardless of your political views or how you feel about them personally, because most of the people that I know don't even know them personally. I've never seen this type of disrespect on this level of somebody that's holding that type of office. And it surprised me because these people that I never seen act like that, it surprised me, this type of things that I hear them saying on a social media platform. I'm talking about pastors, husbands, wives, all types of things. And social media, I didn't even know Donald Trump at the time, but he used social media to tell his story, and I got a better understanding of who he was. He told a lot of things that I'm pretty sure his family didn't want him to tell. He said a lot of things I'm pretty sure people didn't want him to say, but he put his truth out there, and it earned him respect. It earned people an opportunity to see him for who he was, not for who people said he was. So to digress back to the question, I believe we did respect each other better in segregation, but that's me assuming. I've only lived through integration, and I believe that we can do better than what we're doing right now.
Okay, King Myron, because you brought it up, I do want to address something. So you didn't think that President Obama received a whole bunch of disrespect when he was in office?
I believe to answer your question, and a lot of people come to me like this, I love Barack Obama. I have my concerns about some of the things that he did, but I'm not here to judge that man. He's accomplished amazing things. He gave us hope. Due to the fact that he was so loved by our community for rising to that position and actually winning that presidency, it almost made the other races who were hating on him. I don't know too many Black people who don't love Barack Obama. So he was getting so much love from our community that I didn't really hear the hate coming for Barack Obama because our community was showing him so much love. And I only was around our community. So that's all I heard was people praising him. Now I'm sure he had racists and people of other nations that were saying bad things about him due to the skin color and things like that. But I didn't hear a lot of it, but I'm sure it happened. The reason I brought up President Trump is because there was people on all aspects, people of his race, people of our race. And I just, for no apparent reason other than to benefit off of it. I'm pretty sure the people that was talking about Barack Obama was doing it because they was raised to hate people like him. These people were doing it out of pure envy, out of pure to gain some type of award for it. And I just think that's totally unacceptable. And it really discouraged me because how can we, because if they would have did that to Barack Obama and that President Obama in that manner, we probably would have wanted to go up in arms about it. And President Donald Trump could have really acted a fool about that situation. And I think he handled it very well. That's all I'll say on that.
Okay, Ashe, brother. Let's move on to the next individual on that question. Queen Vita, it's your turn.
Ashe.
Would you like to repeat it, Queen?
Yes.
Okay, most of us agree that slavery, Willie Lynch, Jim Crow, etc., has had a negative impact on us as a whole. However, do you feel that the respect that we shared for one another during segregation was better than we integrated?
Well, I grew up during that time in Mississippi when schools were segregated. I went to the Black school. We couldn't go on the white side of town, you know. Before segregation, I think that we were not totally divided. For example, Tulsa, Oklahoma, they had over 300 businesses.
Yes.
And Europeans knew that we worked together as a collective people and wanted to do things on our own. But at the same time, some of us wanted to sit at the seat, like King Troy said, wanted to sit at the same table, you know, and be accepted. And some of us still do.
Ashe.
And that's how, you know, of course, Jim Crow came about. But I grew up during that time. And because my sisters and my siblings before me, my elders, they were hosed down with water hoses and went to jail and
Beaten by
all
dog.
of those things, you know, just to drink water from a fountain that didn't have a label on it. So I think before segregation, we had our own minds to think, we had those opportunities to create for ourselves and do things for ourselves. And for some reason, some of us felt like, okay, well, we get the, you know, Europeans up in here to help us, we'll do better. King Troy said, there's two sides of the coin. Yes, I believe that. So in a way, it helped us, and in a way, it made us digress. Because look where we are now. What do we own? We don't own grocery stores, which we did back then. We don't own laundromats. We don't own cleaners. We don't own pharmacies. We own those things. And I lived in Mississippi. When I knew, you know, there were Black businesses. But what do we own now? Nothing. We don't even, some of us don't even own ourselves.
Ashe.
So, you know, it's sad, but hopefully we'll come back around to wanting for ourselves and doing for ourselves in our community and respecting one another.
Ashe. And I might add that those same Black individuals who own those businesses in Tulsa, they were burned down and babies were killed and many hundreds of families were murdered by the hands of white supremacists because they did not want to see the being successful. Ashe?
Ashe. And that's one of the things, if I could add to that really quick, that I wanted to say to King Myron, was that although he, like myself, I didn't live during that time, I think there's data and statistics that show, you know, when you bring up Tulsa, Oklahoma, or the Black Wall Street, or even Rosewood, that there are obvious examples to show we were doing better, even if we weren't alive during that time. There are certain aspects that can still be brought up today that we should try to duplicate now.
Queen Mother, could I respond?
Go right ahead.
The question that I thought that you asked me was, did we respect each other better during integration and segregation? Now, if the question was, were we doing better during integration and segregation, I have no doubt about it. We were doing better during segregation. From the studies that I've done, 10 years after we were released from slavery, 10 years after that, we had already set up in a Freedman Bank, I believe it was, amassed millions of dollars because we finally had a bank to put our money in. And I'm talking about we blew them away with how many, back in that days, it would have been millions of dollars in amounts of money that we had raised in just 10 years. So we were definitely doing better. Now, but I believe we could do even better now, but they've seen what we can do. And it's like every time that they see what we can do, they set up things to get in our way. And I would really love for our elders to take the initiative to really sit down and help us understand the obstacles instead of letting us bump our heads laughing and then, you know, coming around after we fail and then you want to tell us, listen, if our women had to see y'all fall and that made y'all feel some type of way, I get that. That don't mean that let us fall so we can feel what you feel. You know what I'm saying? And no, we need to teach each other things ahead of time. I didn't know how to cook. I'm 29 years old. I just learned to cook this year in a serious manner. I sat with my son about a week ago, and I made sure he's 10 years old now. And I showed him what I know. I wanted to show him ahead of time because I wanted him to know how to do better than I did. Whether I was integrated in a relationship or segregated from a relationship, I still wanted him to know how to survive on his own. And I think that's the same thing we can do as a race. If y'all was segregated and y'all was doing better, good, show us what y'all did. Don't just let us fall into this integration trap and then judge us and talk about how our generation ain't nothing or how we don't work as hard as y'all used to. We going through different things than what y'all went through. And if our elders are as wise, and I know our elders are wise, don't just be wise about the things you want to be wise about. Be wise and be realistic. It would be much appreciated.
Right. Let me respond, King Myron, as an elder. And I want to say that I have worked with, helped, supported at least over 400 children in that very same aspect that you're speaking of. And let me just tell you, if you don't know, they don't always want to hear it. But for the ones that do, I got them. Every day I got them. If you want it, you can come get it. Queen Mother got it for you. However, you also have to understand, understand that we have some of those individuals who are not trying to hear that and they don't respect that. Ashe, would you agree?
May I comment, please?
Yeah.
I didn't want to bring this up, but during the Mike Brown protests and marches, I was there alone, by myself. And I was there when they burnt the Quick Trip down. I was right across the street at the car wash. And I saw one European white boy, well, same thing, European boy, who was not stealing anything. He's the one who burnt the Quick Trip up. But our people were young and old. I'm talking about a 10-year-old boy coming out of the store with a bag of Cheetos and Snickers. A woman who had her baby in a stroller, walking out of there with a gallon of milk in the baby's lap. One boy had lottery tickets, offering me lottery tickets. I'm sitting there looking. I wasn't afraid at all. Boys, young men that had parked their cars in the car wash across the street, coming out of there with cases of beer saying, "This for Mike." You know, I have a 23-year-old daughter who sometimes I want to choke the life out of because she doesn't want to listen. She thinks she knows everything, and she doesn't. Now, when I was out there, and not to knock anything that anyone has said, but when I was out there and I see all these young men, you know, one young brother was chasing an Arab man down the street, and I stopped him. I said, "Why are you messing with him?" And people would criticize me, but because I guess they wanted to see somebody get beat up, but that's, you know, that was his mentality. He stopped. So whatever his reasoning and whatever his anger, well, we know what the anger was, but was that the right thing to do? So for young people, some elders don't know what to tell you to do because they've never experienced everything that you all are experiencing as young people now. It's a whole different world. Yes. We didn't have telephones. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have some of us didn't even have televisions.
Right.
So it was less of a social thing and more of a family thing that kept us together, kept our families together, kept our morals and values together. We have so many outside influences now that we don't know what to do. We can't think for ourselves.
Ashe.
So, you know, I am one of those people that will give you the shirt off my back. Yes, I will. I don't put young people down. I meet you where you are. I listen to you. I'm in stores sometimes where young boys cursing right there, and I look at them like sideways, and they'll say, "Oh, ma'am, I'm sorry, ma'am." And I've asked young men, "Why your pants sag? Why your? I don't. Can you explain to me why do your pants sag?" So we don't understand some of the things that's going on in y'all, you know, what you all do either.
Right. Ashe. Queen Vita, thank you so much for sharing.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll say this,
Sorry.
and then we're going to move on because it's getting late.
Can I say one more?
Hey, hold on for a second. I'll say this because we got to wrap up. It's 10:07. So I'll say this. I do think that we need to mend the gap of communication, misunderstanding, and levels of different perspective and views when it comes to the older generation, the middle generation, and the even younger generation. Okay, go ahead. Queen Kendra, you go ahead, and then we're gonna move on, guys, okay? Because it's 10:08.
Do I? So I should have stated this earlier. This isn't to discount anything anyone else has said, but I do want to say that the examples that we were given earlier about Black Wall Street and Tulsa weren't to focus only solely on statistics, but as examples of respect. Just like we would say example of disrespect is seeing young people in the community do X, Y, and Z, seeing our community not do this. Examples of respect are us doing well financially, are examples of respect, are us doing better academically and acting more as a village. So just as an example of the difference that is directly correlated to respect, just to kind of clarify that.
Ashe. Okay, I have never done this before on the Voices of Maat, but we have 2 more questions. And so I'm going to ask the questions and each person take 1 minute. Okay, but I do appreciate the intense perspectives and views. I think this was an awesome show. Number 9 says traditional African values include a hierarchy of respect. Topping the list was the ancestors, the elders, the parents, then the children, in that order. Would this cultural system help restore respect in our community? Or do you feel that the African cultural values won't work in today's world? And King Myron, I'm going to let you answer that. You have 1 minute.
Queen Mother, would you possibly repeat that for me one time?
Okay. Our hierarchy of our traditional values are topping the list with the ancestors first, the elders second, the parents third, and then the children, in that order. Would this cultural system help restore respect in our community, or do you feel that African cultural values won't work in today's world?
I believe that it's a realistic and a positive goal to reach for. But again, listen, I love my elders. I don't want this to be taken the wrong way. I hope we have another conversation about this, but I do believe that there can come a time where the youth can take charge. I was from the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali said the youth were gonna come in and sit the old Moors in the back. When you read in the Bible, it talks about when Moses led the children of Israel into the wilderness. God allowed a lot of those older people to die off before they could progress into the promised land. Was they not respectable? I'm not saying that, but sometimes I do believe that we all can cause division amongst our people, regardless of age or anything else. So I do believe that it's a good thing to attain for, but I'm not gonna say that we necessarily have to focus on that right now.
Ashe. Okay, what about you, King Troy?
Okay, 1 minute. Yes, those traditional values can work, but I can't worry about the community until the family is straight. I can't worry about the family until myself, till I'm together. So it begins, of course, with the self of improving that. Then you improve your family. Then you are the living and walking example of what you want your community to be. And those of us who are African-centered, we know that there are spiritual principles that we abide by. You know, we know that we abide by Maat. We know also the Nguzo Saba. They are technically spiritual principles. They are only to be reflected upon during the last 7 days of the year. But we live those principles throughout the rest of the year to reflect, to try to work and be those principles. So yes, but it starts with self, family, and then that natural it goes over to the community from that. So I hope I'm within my 1 minute, Queen Mother. My 1 minute.
Go ahead, Queen Vita.
Okay, we as descendants from slaves, I think we should try to hold on as much as we can to the values that were given to us. Africa was Africa. Okay, Africa is still Africa, but we have to kind of somehow modernize it to for it to get to our young people, not to push it aside, but to help them to realize, okay, because they don't think like elders think, and we don't think like they think, some of them. Okay, I believe that the values will work, all of them, but Africa ruled it. We don't rule anything in this society. You know what I'm saying? We don't rule anything. So we're living in a European society where a lot of our values and our morals don't have to be compromised, but we have to get back to what really our ancestors gave to us, you know.
Yes, and we have to let our youth know that our roots and our culture did not start as slavery. We were kings and queens. And so I think that's a bigger issue that we have, because we need to know thyself. And if you don't begin to understand your divineness and who you truly are, then your life will be full of challenges, barriers, situations that you can't deal with, because you've been taught that you're nothing than a filthy rag, and that's not true. Ashe? Go ahead, Queen Kendra.
I really appreciate what everyone has mentioned. I very much agree that it starts with self. I think that along with Afrocentric values, we need to flood our communities with resources, with drug rehab, with entrepreneurship opportunities, with education reform, with mental health. So my point is, some of these Afrocentric values aren't working because we're so overwhelmed with the day-to-day being in survival mode and not being able to make ends meet, that stress causes mental health issues, and it causes some of the conflict we see between young people and elders, between husband and wife. And so making sure that we attack it from a holistic manner, that's going to, with it starting with self, like being sure that I have the find a way to have the access to education or the access to capital to do my purpose so that I'd have the income and hopefully then the spare time to fight for my liberation and have that time to spend with my family so that we have trust and respect and love amongst each other so that when I do need to come to that person in correction, they know that I'm coming from a place of love, for example.
Ashe. Okay, let's move on. This is our last question. We've arrived. What are your thoughts or remedies as to how we can raise our standard of respect for one another? And I'm going to start off with King Troy.
To raise the standard of respect, in my personal opinion, it starts with something that's very easy. You know, when we greet another Black face, we have to have the sincerity of love in our hearts when we just simply look at that Black face and greet them with a simple hello, hey brother, hey sister, how you doing, with sincerity. That's the start. Now, no matter what that response is, we cannot let the response dictate how we meet and greet the next Black face. We must maintain that love in our hearts for our people to begin that development of healing and respect for our people. Thank you.
Ashe. What about you, King Myron? What can we do to raise the standard of respect for one another in our community?
We can be realistic about the fact that we're not okay with the disrespect to begin with. We need to be honest about that because, as you said, we got females calling each other out their names. We have, I should say, males going behind each other doing things that they shouldn't be doing. So it's like, first, let's be honest about these things. They ain't okay, regardless of who's saying them or where we hearing it at. And then, like Brother King Troy said, just be sincere, be yourself, and be honest. I feel like honesty is probably one of the most important things you can do to establish. If you respect somebody, you're gonna be honest with them. Different, because respect is different than fear. You might lie to somebody you're afraid of, but you're gonna be honest with somebody that you respect. So if you're not being honest with me, I doubt if you respect me, and I need both. Do I?
Ashe. Queen Kendra, what can we do to raise a respect for one another? Any remedies or solutions?
Yes, as you mentioned before, know thyself. I think it all starts with self. And once we get that together, it will spread to friends, family. We can be that example. And it's one of the reasons why I started my organization, to combat internalized self-hate, things like colorism, texturism, voluptuous bias, or body shaming, even things like featureism that are demeaned through our culture or from our culture, from outside and within. So being able to combat some of those internalized issues of self-hate, and doing it as an individual, and then being that example in our community and letting that spread is a way to do that.
Ashe. Queen Kendra, when we have the show, probably is going to be aired this weekend, would you go out into the comments and put all your information down about your organization?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Ashe. Take us home, Queen Vita. Take us home. What remedies or solutions must we raise for our standard of respect for one another in our society?
Well, as all of the comments that you made before, it starts with self-respect. We have been taught to disrespect and hate ourselves so much that we got to get back to loving ourselves.
Ashe.
As simple as that. And when we love ourselves, then we can extend all of that love to somebody else and everybody else.
Yes. Ashe.
Ashe.
Take the time out to say, do I thank you for each of you, kings and queens, for coming out, sharing your time, your effort, your energy to educate, edify, and empower our people. I think that this show was an excellent show. And I value each and every one of your different thoughts and views and perspectives. And I think that it will definitely help. So I want to say, Dua, thank you. I want to say Dua to Queen Natalie for her idea to have this show, this topic. So Dua, Queen Natalie. I want to say Dua to Baba Saber, Amari Sneferu, our founder of the Temple of KitiHeru. Dua to our Chief Saber, Pianki Patah Matula Nefra Uman Ra, who is actually the producer of our channels. Also, I want to say Dua to Saber of Inspiration, Kimra Nasu Sheka, my aunt. Dua to my parents, Princella and Roy Small, for my existence upon the universe. Dua to Riketti Amin for teaching us our metanetter. Dua to our elders of the Temple of KitiHeru, Queen Elder Regina Dennis Nana, and our Elder Rini Ankh Makaru. And I want to say at this time, Dua Initare. Again, that means the essence of nature. Shem Imhotep, Kemeti Yu, meaning our Black community. Go in peace. Ashe.
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 Okay.
Voices of Maat. Voices of Maat will evoke